Eli was only 7, but something about him felt older. He carried a silence too heavy for a child. Every morning, as the bell rang and the hallways filled with chatter, Eli walked alone, his small frame wrapped in a faded blue coat and a worn-out winter hat that clung tightly to his head. It didn't matter if it was snowing outside or warm inside the building, he never took it off. Other kids noticed, of course. Some whispered behind cupped hands, others let out stifled giggles as he passed by. "Why does he always wear that hat?" they'd ask, with the kind of innocent cruelty children often carry. Eli never answered. He just kept walking, eyes fixed on the floor, hands deep in his pockets, like he was trying to shrink away from the world. His teachers made gentle comments, "It's okay to take your hat off inside, Eli," but he'd just shake his head. No tantrums, no excuses, just a quiet refusal that made everyone back off, unsure of what to do. The hat seemed to shield him from something, as if it were the last piece of a story no one else could see. The janitor, Mr. Reed, would sometimes give him a little nod in the mornings. The nurse, Ms. Jordan, watched him from her office window, her heart tugging a little more each day. There was something behind that quiet, something unspoken. Days turned into weeks. Snow melted. Still, the hat stayed. Nobody knew what lay beneath it. But in that silence, Eli was holding on to something deeper than anyone could guess, something tender, fragile, and maybe even broken. And all it would take was one person brave enough to look past the hat and ask the right question. Ms. Jordan had seen hundreds of children come through her office over the years, scraped knees, upset stomachs, the occasional fake cough before a math test. But Eli was different. He came quietly, never complaining, only whispering that he felt tired or had a headache. Always polite. Always pale. Always with that winter hat pulled low over his ears, even as the heater buzzed softly in the background. She'd log his symptoms, fatigue, sensitivity to light, chills, and offer the usual remedies. But nothing changed. He'd return the next day, the same hat on his head, the same quiet sadness in his eyes. She noticed he flinched slightly when someone walked too close. His shoulders tensed at loud noises. He seemed like a boy trying to disappear. One afternoon, while checking his temperature, she gently asked, "Eli, sweetheart, can I take a quick look at your head? Just to make sure everything's okay." His little hands instantly reached up, pressing the hat tighter against his scalp. "No," he murmured, eyes wide with a quiet panic. Ms. Jordan didn't press. She'd seen that kind of fear before, not the kind born from stubbornness, but the kind wrapped in pain. She waited a beat, then smiled softly. "Okay. You don't have to, not until you're ready." But as he walked back to class, she couldn't shake the feeling that his symptoms weren't about illness at all. It was something deeper. Something emotional. The hat wasn't just covering his head, it was hiding a truth he wasn't ready to share. And that truth, she suspected, was breaking him more than any flu ever could. On the 42nd day, snow drifted gently past the windows, blanketing the school grounds in quiet white. Inside, the warmth of the building contrasted sharply with the chill Eli carried on his small shoulders. Ms. Jordan had watched him closely for weeks, his quietness, his pallor, his reluctance to be touched or seen too clearly. Today, something felt different. She called him into her office once more, but not with a thermometer or clipboard in hand. Instead, she had 2 steaming cups of cocoa waiting, the kind with little marshmallows floating on top. Eli hesitated at the door, his eyes darting around the room. Ms. Jordan didn't reach for him or speak loudly. She just smiled, gently patting the seat beside her. He sat, stiff at first, fingers wrapped around the warm mug. She waited a long moment before softly saying, "You're safe here, Eli. No one's going to laugh. No one's going to hurt you. You don't have to hide." Her voice was barely above a whisper. He didn't answer right away. But something in her words, maybe it was the kindness, maybe the patience, melted a little piece of the wall he'd built. His hands reached up slowly, almost trembling, and for the first time in 42 days, he pulled the hat off. Ms. Jordan gasped, but caught herself. Eli's head was patchy with sparse tufts of hair, and the pale skin beneath showed faint scars, fresh, delicate, curved in a way only surgery could leave. His eyes filled with tears he hadn't let fall until now. But she didn't say anything right away. She just pulled him into a hug. And for the first time, Eli let himself be held. No words, no hat, just truth, finally seen. Wrapped in the stillness of the nurse's office, with cocoa cooling on the table and the winter hush outside, Eli sat beside Ms. Jordan, his hat now resting in his lap. His small fingers traced its edges like it was made of something sacred. She didn't push him to speak, only offered quiet space. Then, in a voice barely louder than the ticking clock on the wall, he began to talk. "My mom, she gave me this hat," he said, eyes not meeting hers. "She wore it when she got cold, when her hair started falling out. She said it made her feel strong." Ms. Jordan listened, her chest tightening. "She died in September," Eli whispered. "It was fast. She told me not to be scared, but I was." He paused, swallowing hard. "A few weeks later, the doctor said I was sick too." "Same thing. Not the same place, but they had to do surgery." He touched the side of his head lightly. "Then my hair started falling out, like hers did." Tears welled in his eyes, but he didn't look away. "So I wore her hat. Every day. Because I thought, if she could be brave, maybe I could too." Ms. Jordan reached out, placing her hand gently over his. "Eli," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "you already are." For the first time, Eli looked up, his tears falling freely. It wasn't just grief he'd been carrying, it was love, fear, and a little boy's desperate hope that something of his mother could protect him. And in that moment, by sharing the truth, he began to let a little of it go. A week later, the school gym buzzed with excitement. A winter-themed assembly had been announced, and kids piled in wearing bright, colorful hats, beanies, knitted caps, even a few silly ones with pom-poms or animal ears. Eli walked in quietly, unsure of what was happening, his familiar blue hat pulled gently over his ears. He was about to slip into the back row when someone called his name. He turned to see Ms. Jordan smiling at him from the stage. "Come up here, Eli," she said, motioning him forward. His steps were small and uncertain, but something in her warmth gave him the courage to move. As he reached the front, his classmates began to clap. Then cheer. He looked around, confused at first, until he realized every single student and teacher in the room was wearing a hat, for him. A boy in his class shouted, "We're all with you, Eli." Ms. Jordan leaned down and whispered, "See? You were never alone." Tears welled in Eli's eyes, but this time, they didn't come from pain. For the first time in weeks, his face lit up in a wide, true smile. Slowly, he reached up and took off his mother's hat, not to hide, but to honor her. To be brave, just like she taught him. The gym erupted in applause. Some wiped their eyes. Others held hands. In that moment, no one saw a sick child or a quiet boy. They saw a brave heart. A soul shining through the cracks. Eli stood taller. And the message echoed through every heart in the room. Kindness can be louder than fear, and when we choose compassion, we help others heal. It was a day no one would forget. Because on that stage, humanity showed its most beautiful face.